Alrighty, going live on YouTube, team. We are live. Everyone can hear me and see the slide, yeah?
Yep, all good.
Cheers there. Okay, let's rock and roll. So, welcome everybody to our December virtual London Excel meetup. Alex Powers waiting in the wing to take us through some new and cool stuff with Excel and Power Query online. Just the usual words from myself before we get going. If I can move these slides. So upcoming events looking a bit bare at the moment, as I've been somewhat lax on this. At the moment, we've only got some in-person events booked. I need to get the virtual ones going next year. So January and February, we have a couple of dates locked in. Presenters done for January. We have Simon Rowe from the Storytelling with Data team, Cold Asbama, Netflix. And this will be at our new venue, which we haven't been to yet, but you can see we're there 3 times, a bit more than the first one, which those who are in London may know what I've got to say. So he's taken us through some stuff. The February date, I kind of do have a presenter. The presenter's booked in. I just haven't put their name there yet because I've got to decide on a topic and stuff. So I don't want to release it just yet, but it's pretty much confirmed to be a BI person. So it's probably going to be more of a Power BI session, but something that can translate to Excel for those who have Excel in their heart. But more on that when it's due. The December one, as those of us who are UK based will probably know, is extremely likely to be cancelled or something else done with it. It's been a bit of a nightmare, that one, because we did have Charles Williams presenting, as some of you may know, which was going to be cool. Actually, I haven't changed that topic. That topic's wrong as well. So Charles was going to talk about developing VBA add-ins, and then it clashed with something personal for him. So we drafted in Abiola David to talk about new features to Excel, not that topic. But it looks like we've got train strikes going ahead. They've even added more dates. So it doesn't look great there. So that's probably going to, I haven't really decided what to do. And yeah, we'll talk to Taylor and stuff. And it's still not confirmed. It may go ahead, but I think the unions are saying, yeah, they're advising everyone to reject it. So it looks like that's dead in the water. So we'll see what we're going to do. Maybe we go virtual again. Maybe we just can it and say, look, enjoy your Christmas. We'll see you next year. Wait for more words on that. Moving on. Oh, ignoring my book. Go buy my book if you like formulas. Global Excel Summit. Another event in February. So we probably won't do a virtual event in February. I'll probably do the in-person one. I've got that date booked. But we'll probably just skip the virtual because we have the summit that month anyway. So probably won't worry about the London Excel meetup virtually that month. So that's on the 6th, 7th and 8th. Loads of presenters. Some of them are in the room right now. Loads of Excel and Power BI stuff. Lots of fun. CPD credits, networking, knowledge. You know the drill. Ticket prices. Conference 145. Come and do some masterclasses with people who are doing masterclasses, like myself, Daniel Fairhurst. I think Gash was doing one. I think Chandler's doing one. Can't remember. Check out the website. It's probably changed since I last looked. 10% off with discount code Alan10. Skipping on. Back to this meetup. Usual stuff for the regulars. We are live on YouTube at the moment. The Computergaga YouTube, my YouTube. This is all recorded there. So if you miss anything that Alex says, or you want to watch it all over again because it was so awesome, then go and watch it there. And then you can pause it and rewind it and maybe do things. Link is in the meetup description, along with a Zoom link. That is the same link that shows the replay. So it's streaming live now, and it's the replay link. And if you have RSVP'd on the page, then you will get a follow-up email with any information to be shared, like those upcoming meetups and what was I just talking about? YouTube link and anything else that may come up in this session that we need to follow up on. So if you want that follow-up email, make sure you RSVP. Otherwise, that is the end of my chat, and I get to hand over to Alex if you're ready to rock, mate.
I am ready to rock and roll. Thanks so much, Alan. And let me go ahead and start sharing my screen here. And please let me know, just confirmation if you can see it then.
Yeah.
You can see it.
Awesome. And this crazy bar, can I minimize this or hide it some way?
The one
Or
at the
does it
top,
kind of go away on its own?
Not sure.
Hopefully it goes away on its own. We'll see.
Yes.
I'll avoid touching it.
It likes to come back on it then as well.
Awesome. Well, first and foremost, just thank you so much, everyone, for your time and your attendance, especially with the Excel people in the audience today. Like, I'm so excited. This is where I started. This is where I love kind of hanging out and sharing with people, just not only my journey, but where I think we should start focusing our efforts as well. So today, I really want to discuss all the cool things you can do in Power Query Online. So a little bit about myself. My name is Alex Powers. I am a program manager at Microsoft on the Power BI customer advisory team. We work with some of our largest strategic enterprise customers, helping them adopt the platform and the technologies. Of course, them trying to push things to their limits using our tools. So that's where it's always fun to hear how are people using it, what are the challenges you're kind of seeing, and then how can we obviously improve the product just the same. If you know me, I love active discussions. So at any point in time, Alan, if you see something within the chat that we should expand upon, please just jump right in. And then equally, I'm always a very selfish person. If I see something that could help me with something that I'm doing today, absolutely jump in and say, hey, I have this problem. What you just showed me, can you expand upon it a little bit further? I'm happy to provide more detail. If it's something that I feel like would just take way too long, I'll say, if you don't mind, we'll just save that for maybe the end. We'll come back to it. But please, this is a very fun, interactive discussion. It's just who I am. It's how I love to present. So let me talk about Power Query itself and kind of the objective for today. I want to provide an introduction and overview of all of the features that are available within Power Query Online. So when I talk about Power Query Online, what is it that I'm saying? Well, I'm talking about these four corners. So the top left, bottom right, top right. It is this code base. It is this new modern updated experience for Power Query that we see. It's got a lot of new rich features and capabilities that I am so excited about for everyone that does Power Query development. And of course, you're saying, well, hold on, I don't use Power Query Online. Like, I'm still using local desktop applications, and maybe that's Power BI desktop, maybe that's Excel, kind of the desktop version as opposed to Excel Online. Well, I want you to step back because we've got two different flavors kind of Power Query today, one being Power Query Online, and obviously the other one being kind of that offline mode with Power Query Desktop. So why do I think that you should spend your time, maybe even dropping in every once in a while to one of these online experiences? It's because this single experience is uniform across all of the different host applications. All right, well, what does the host application mean to me, Alex? So when you think about Power Query Online, I want you to think about it as being a single code base that is hosted in Power BI Service. So that's the cloud offering. It's hosted in Power Apps, Power Automate, even over in Azure Data Factory, Dataverse, and Teams. Like, that's crazy to think about that you could do Power Query development within Teams. Like, how many people today are building Power Query queries within their Teams application, loading that information into Dataverse for downstream applications? If you are, I would absolutely love to hear about it. If this is kind of the first time you're hearing about it, definitely go try it. Kick the tires. Just let me know what you think. Customer insights, then also Excel on Mac. That kills me right there at the very bottom. All of our Mac friends, they've obviously got this new updated Power Query experience. And that's why I think it's important, at least for the Excel Windows developers, to see what's available. And then, hopefully at a future date, I would just love to see this experience also hosted within Excel. But it comes back to you. Your feedback is these experiences, are they important? Would you like to see them kind of brought in that Excel environment? So at least as far as Power BI Desktop, my great friend Christian here is always asking me, he's like, when are you going to bring Power Query Online into the offline experience for my Power BI Desktop? My answer used to be coming soon, ... But, now I can finally share with him, yes, we are working on this. So converging the Power Query Online experience into that local Power BI Desktop environment, currently targeted for public preview just as of March 2023. And then from there, closing any gaps that may occur and then getting to that general availability for everyone that would like to use it. If you are using Power BI today and you'd like to keep up with the roadmap, just here in the bottom left, the release plan template app, please feel free to check that out just to kind of get a feel for what's coming, what's on the radar here, and then that way you can start planning with your own organization just about in terms of getting these rolled out. Awesome. So hopefully that's good news for any Power BI developers that are in the audience, bringing this online experience just to your local kind of desktop development. Right. So some of these big benefits that we're going to kind of hit home and talk about kind of over the course of the session here. One that I'm always excited about is for people that love doing kind of this UI-based development where they like seeing a visual diagram of their transformations. The diagram view, just an awesome addition here for your developers. So in that way, you can see kind of the complete workflow within that. Global search, being able to type in your transformations. Like, well, what would you like to do? Maybe there's way too many UI elements. You're trying to figure out, was it on the transform? Was it on the add columns? Just being able to search for those, just using kind of your natural language, just typing those in. Schema view, also being a really cool one here. If you've just got a lot of data volume, you don't want to necessarily load all that information into kind of the data preview window. Just look at the column headers. So here in schema view, being able to load just the most important information for you. And then also here with these step diagnostic indicators. So anyone who is doing query folding today, having to right click each one of those things and see, am I folding, am I not folding? Always just kind of a bit of a headache here. Power Query Online experience, these new icons, these new colors, these new indicators, just very helpful here to let us know, are we in the fold? Have we broke the fold? And then some more of the unique ones, maybe in the might folder, kind of the opaque, where it's like, I don't know if we're folding or not. At that point, just check the logs. That will always be my guidance. Right, cool. So I don't want to talk about Power Query Online the entire session. So let's actually get into the application. So with that, let me go ahead and get us out of there. For the demo today, I am going to be out in just Power BI service. Once again, I could be over in Power Apps. I could be over in Power Automate. It's the exact same kind of code base there. So for my Excel folks, I do want to come back here because I talked about this Power Query editor available over in that Mac. So if you're in Mac developing, launch the Power Query editor, it's going to be this new UI. So this get data, this enter data, it's these new modern icons. I'll be very curious here for anyone that's maybe within the chat. If you're on Mac, have you started using this new and updated kind of Power Query Online experience? Let me know your thoughts. We'd just love to kind of hear it as we go throughout the session. Cool. Well, then let me move this here just so I can kind of see some things. I'm going to start by just getting into a workspace. So I'll create one here now. Demo workspace, just because I'm not good with namings. Hit save. And then I'm going to just create a new data flow. Just a lot of this information, not completely necessary for today's topic, but it's asking me if I'd like to build a data mart. No, get out of here. This fun little prompt. So from this now, I can define new tables or just import a model of existing queries. I know we have an audience here that's probably seen connect CSV file probably 2,000 times. I don't need to show it to you. So I'm just importing existing Power Query file. So here, we'll just copy and paste this now. Just give it a few seconds. Yes. Awesome. Data source credentials, just real quick. It's all public, skip that. Then I'll also set my enhanced compute engine just to on. This way, if I'm doing some additional transformations, just some heavy lifting, I've kind of got this SQL cache-based layer. Just a great benefit here within kind of that Power Query Online experience. So press apply. Cool. And demo workspace. Now going to get into the Power Query Online here now. Edit tables. So many clicks. Cool. All right. In Power Query Online, first thing I noticed, these new updated Office 365-like buttons. It doesn't look like kind of the 1980s experience that I'm used to, maybe over here in the Power Query editor of Excel. So that would be just one of those big wins right off the bat where I'd be like, oh my goodness, the sooner we can get to new and modern Ribbon, especially for demo purposes with a lot of my users, just the more it feels modern, the more it feels fresh. Cool. As a developer of anything Power Query, one of the first things I always want to do is I want to configure my environment, like getting it ready for every time that I launch into Power Query Online. I always want it to retain my settings. So here within the home, the options, global options, I've got some really cool new things here. One of the first one I want to kind of call out is the show script and step callout. So definitely want to get that one enabled. Column profiles, if you're used to that within Excel or Power BI today, being able to see kind of the distribution, are there any errors, are there any null values, being able to see all that information above each column. Type detection, if you've been working with Power Query for any amount of time, you know that change type step when you just see it over and over and over again. One of my favorite things to do here is say, get rid of it. I never want to see it again. So never detect column types. I'm very comfortable within my Power Query development experience, but I always just want to save that as kind of my last step. So I don't want Power Query to have to worry about that. And then here all the time, just in terms of allowing parameterization in our data sources. So maybe it's an Excel file name, maybe it's a server address, like a dev test prod or something to that effect. Just being able to change those parameters kind of within the data source layer. So every time I jump into Power Query Online, it's going to remember these settings. I don't have to do these after every session. Just as a developer, just a really great experience here to have these set kind of at the global level. Cool. Awesome. So I talked about kind of being able to type in different transformations. I'll be very honest with you. There's so many buttons here. I just see left to right. Is it the transform tab or was it the add column tab? What is it that I'm really needing? Something that I really enjoy here within Power Query Online is our global search. So here at the very top, this search, Alt-Q kind of being that shortcut key. What would I like to do? Maybe in this case, I've selected kind of this product name. Maybe I like to capitalize it. So I'll just say, well, I'd like to do that uppercase. So transform text column format, press enter, automatically does it. So it has context awareness of your selection, what type of transformation you would like to do. You don't have to sift through multiple different UI places. Maybe if I was to kind of press spacebar here now, see more results, I have the complete list of all the different transformations here that is available within Power Query. Let's kind of scroll through. I want to pause here though. How many people have started leveraging maybe this global search method if you're developing in a Power Query environment? Or is this maybe the first time they're even seeing this? I'll pause there. If anyone wants to come off mute, if anybody wants to leave some comments here in the chat we could expand upon, let me know. Steve, yeah, kind of the first time. I agree. That's what I get from a lot of people. Just, they're like, oh my gosh, like I didn't even know that this is possible. Very cool here. Just being able to search, find different things. Not limited to just the actions. It could also be the different data sources. So maybe I want to get data from an Excel file. Excel, there we go. Get data from the workbook. There's a press enter there. It will take me into the kind of that get data dialog. Or one of my favorites here is, someone yelling at me over on Twitter. They're saying, how can I search for all my queries? I've got hundreds and hundreds of queries. They're just way too difficult for me to find. How do you expect me to navigate through this entire kind of menu? And I've got submenus. One of my favorite things, look at that. A search for my queries here within that global search. So maybe now dim product raw was kind of the one I was wanting to find. Press enter. Oh, I guess I'm already in that one. So give me 1 second for a better example. Dim product subcategory, press enter, automatically navigated to that query. That is insane. All of that capable here, kind of within the global search. Other capabilities, though, that I absolutely love. This is obviously a great helper. Here on the right hand, here on the tab menu, our help goes over the Power Query documentation, keyboard shortcuts. So I talked about this one, kind of that Alt-Q. Typing in here now, documentation, finding keyboard shortcuts, press enter. all these keyboard shortcuts that just don't exist in kind of that offline experience today of Power Query. So whether it be kind of that get data menu, go to column, kind of Control G, that one does work, which is always fun. But two that I absolutely love here, blank query, Control M, advanced editor, Control Shift M. If I'm in Excel, I'm always thinking about my keyboard shortcuts. Control plus T gets me into a table. Oh my goodness, Control plus M gets me into a new query. So let me go and try this here now. Control M, connect to data source. Look at that, a new blank query. Hello world. Press next. And then of course, if I have an existing query like this one, Control Shift M takes me right into the advanced editor. No more points, no more clicks, no more crazy context menus, just keyboard shortcuts. Absolutely love it. Gonna jump back out here. So definitely review this list. There's so many new ones, so many fun ones that are coming here within that Power Query Online experience, whether it be through navigation, selections, kind of getting into the multi-line text editor, or even kind of the diagram viewer queries pane. So absolutely love keyboard shortcuts. Power Query blog, for anything that new that's being published, just search for blog, or even providing feedback, just letting the team know, what do you like about Power Query? How can they continue to improve it? Just go ahead and leverage these things just within your development environment then. Cool. Awesome. Let me pause here. Anything that's kind of jumping out here that we should maybe expand upon, Alan, within the chat before we continue?
There's a lot of well moments in the chat.
Yeah.
The search went down very well, though I think many people use that kind of functionality, myself included.
Yeah. So this one is kind of one of those hidden things where I'm always excited to kind of showcase Power Query Online, where I'm just like, I don't think enough people are talking about global search and just how neat and cool it is to not only be able to find your different queries here in this example, or just a context awareness to say, we could say like let's add, 20 to our existing column of store key. Just being able to have that context aware positioning, just a fantastic way to kind of enrich our development. Awesome. Well, then let's go into kind of that schema view, because one of the things I want to do is I want to go ahead and merge some queries here now. So my merge queries as new using my search. I want to merge my dim product raw with my category here. See our product category. Let me make sure it's the right order. That should be right. Product key, subcategory. Here we go. As always, the perfect data set, nothing wrong with it at all. So of course I can just use my inner join here. Love these updated icons here in terms of the join kind. Press OK. Cool. Here in the bottom left, one of those capabilities that I talked about. Should be luck here with the Windows magnifier. Awesome. It's this new icon. So computed tables perform in-storage calculations for advanced data transformations. So through the power of the cloud out here, obviously, I'm going to use not only the mashup engine to grab my data, but I'm also going to use the SQL-based cache just to perform additional transformations. Whenever I'm doing things like merging or appending data, that is just so intensive. That's when you kind of see your query time durations kind of move up in terms of those timings. So here, now referencing and leveraging the enhanced compute engine, I'm able to just do some more advanced kind of heavy lifting. So I now have this merge between these two tables. I'd like to merge one more time. So I'll do merge queries. All right, so I've got my existing here, context aware positioning, and then kind of one last time, product category, which I'll need to expand. So Control G, product subcategory. Loving these shortcuts. So let me expand this now. I don't need subcategory key anymore. Let me get this magnifier out of the way. And context aware, Alt Q, merge queries. then we'll do our final one here, product category. Awesome. Oh, perfect. Once again, just a great, perfect data set here. So inner joins. Thank you, AdventureWorks company, for always keeping your data clean for me. And then one last time here with my expands category key. Now I'm waiting. I'm seeing this yellow this timing window where data is just streaming into the Power Query development environment. At any point in time, if I'm just like, well, this is taking way too long, I don't want to see the actual data. I know what the schema looks like. In the bottom left here, zoom in here again. So bottom left here, or I'm sorry, bottom right, show schema view. So I'm going to move from the show data into the show schema. Awesome. So now I just see column headers, data types. I also have this great thing that's called key. So being able to define my primary and foreign keys here on my tables. So this will help when we go into that merging. So here on the dim product raw, I've got this new schema tools. I want to go and mark this column as a key. Cool. Table.add key, uppercase, curly brace, product key, comma, false, open parenthesis. I don't know what this stuff means. So maybe let's kind of look for that documentation, right? So Power Query documentation. To jump into, right, where's our function references? Power Query functions. I'm sure it's on the page. I'm just having a tough time. Functions reference. I want to look for table.add key. Cool. So table add key is primary, is logical, kind of being that final argument where I was trying to figure out what that was trying to do. Adds a key to the table, defining the key and kind of its primary relationship. All right, that's pretty neat. Coming out to the browser though, that kind of interrupts my workflow. So one of the things I always love to do, that Control M, get a new blank query, table.add key, press next. Let's get me back over to data view. Awesome. So out here in Power Query, whether you're in desktop, whether you're in Power Query Online, just typing the name of the function without that open and close parenthesis, that will go ahead and give you the actual documentation here within the environment. So instead of running out to the browser, I could equally have done it over here. So I see table.add key. Here's the name, the description adds a key to the table, and then kind of my different my values here. So table, columns, and is primary. The same if I was to use, table.max, table.select rows, anything that you can kind of think of just off the top of your head here, just type those in. Don't include the open and close parentheses. You get all of the documentation. So if I was to do hash shared, this is always a fun trick. Azure will return the complete function reference library here for you. In 3, 2, how was it taking so long? 13.25 seconds. Whew, nice to have those timings. Converting this to a table, you can then just filter, sort, kind of see all the different functions that are available. Awesome.
So yeah, there's several of us curious if we're ever going to get those icons, those join icons on the desktop.
Yes, love the question, Oz. So I don't want you to think about a specific icon. I want you to ask me, well, when am I going to get this Power Query Online experience within Excel's desktop? Because we want all four corners of this experience, right? Not just kind of bits and pieces.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah. So ignore Power BI. Just imagine kind of this complete Power Query kind of experience here. Get out of here, this Windows 11. All right, get out of here now. So if I was to jump over into Power Apps, what does it make that Power Apps? And I'll go into just kind of Dataverse, data flows. In one moment. create a new data flow, test something. It's again just not great with the names. If you see what pops up here, my next click, that exact same experience that we just saw over here.
Okay.
Available in Power Apps. So it's a code base. So when is this code base coming to Excel's desktop environment? That way, it's a single unified experience. The Power Query and data integration team obviously just deploys this, and then any downstream host gets all of these great new opportunities. So it's not a timeline that I can give you, but I'm hopefully providing a response.
Okay, I'm kind of lost, right? Because there's a number of us who are saying that we're likely going to use desktop. You know, so I don't understand your response.
Yep. So let me go ahead over into Excel. So here's Excel, right? It's a grid-based system here with cells. If you want to get into Power Query, right? Get data, and we'll just kind of launch Power Query Editor. This launches a new window, right? Power Query Editor here.
Yeah.
So instead of it launching this old 1980s looking UI menu, the question would then be, well, when I go into the Power Query Editor, when will I see this updated new modern experience? And that's the items that the team is working on in terms of these different convergence experiences.
Okay.
So if I was to kind of jump back real quick here, just to the PowerPoint deck, this new Power Query Online experience, it's hosted in all of these different places. Same code base, just deployed to all these different services.
Okay, so I think I understand what you're saying is that not to think about desktop versus Windows versus Mac versus online, but to think, when is it going to all be the same?
You got it. You got it.
Okay,
yes.
okay, got it.
Then that helps the team because they don't have to kind of maintain two different versions of Power Query because they have this old kind of Power Query editor that's been around for what, 10 some odd years versus this new experience where it has all these new bells and whistles and they fixed a lot of things. So once they can kind of get rid of these legacy versions of it, then they're just working on one code base. And oh my goodness, the things that they could deliver for us when they can just have that complete focus on one experience. Right. So as far as the Power Query team, they build the Power Query Online experience, and it's up to these other services like the Excel team, like Power Apps, like Power BI, that will then integrate and host that in their applications. So that's where it's awesome. And I'm super jealous when I think about our Excel friends over on the Mac, is because they already have this experience. They have this new modern updated ribbon. For Excel, we can't just change something overnight because if you break Excel, you break the world. So that's where they're being very meticulous in terms of their timing. If I was to be a betting man, I would probably say that we'll probably see the Power Query Online experience within Excel Online maybe a little bit sooner than we will the desktop. But I'm reading the tea leaves just as much as anyone else. This new experience is what's so great and fantastic, and that's what we should be asking. Gotcha. Love the question though, Oz. Thanks for keeping me honest and giving me a clear response.
All right, cool.
Love it. Yeah. And then Mike was saying just being non-committal, Oz. I'm not being non-committal. I'm just saying, hey, keep up to date with the different teams. Let the Excel team let them know. I want to see this new modern update experience within my Windows application. It's your voice, it's your feedback that they prioritize. Awesome. So with that, complete function reference. Let me go and delete this here now. Now that I understand kind of this primary and foreign key values, this will help in terms of the engine's execution logic, in terms of where it should be spending its time. So I'm going to go back into my schema view. Product key, this is a primary value. So I'm going to go ahead and change this now to true. I have this product subcategory key. I'm going to go ahead and mark this now as a key. So that is false here. Jumping into dim product category in my schema view. Product category key. This one is here we go. I don't know what it was yelling at me about. I'm going to change this one to true. And I'll get this last one here with dim product category. Subcategory key is true. And that's a weird. I don't understand why the default is false as opposed to true, but here in my final merge, false. So I've got multiple keys that have been defined in terms of my merging, helping with just that crazy heavy lifting here with the enhanced compute engine. I've done quite a bit. I've kind of lost my place here in terms of where does this thing come together? Where do they merge? So for this, I'm going to get into the diagram view. So in the bottom right-hand side, I got my directions right that time. We've seen schema view, data view, which is something we're all familiar with today, diagram view. Now I'll go ahead and shrink this down here, collapse the data preview. I have the complete flow of my information, how each query is kind of intermingled here. If you're using Excel today, obviously we have the diagram view out here, kind of a new updated experience for this. So if I was to expand this, I can see the sources. If I was to hover above, direct reference queries is my dim product raw, dim product subcategory key. One of the very cool things here at the very bottom is the script. In my global options, we turned on the script view. So here at the very bottom, I can see it's using the table.nested join. It's using that join kind.inner. If I was to be in the query settings and just hovering above any one of these steps, I get that same information. Here's my script, that expanded table column. Just a fantastic way, especially if you're kind of doing a lot of what was I writing before, what was the previous step, as opposed to waiting for that data preview to load. Just hover above that step and it'll give you all that script information. Just a fantastic thing here for the Power Query developers. If I want to expand here, highlight all related queries, so I can see that. So here's how everything is related, and then I can expand the related queries just the same. So with those marking of keys within our original queries, I see these steps here now. I see how it all flows kind of from left to right. So here's my original kind of get file. So I'm just getting those CSVs and then I'm feeding them now into kind of my downstream. So change columns, uppercase, mark key columns. I just absolutely love that I can see each one of these steps and how they're also combining here at the very end with this merge. I don't want you to think of it as just a view. This is also an editable experience. So here with my name, I'm going to go ahead and double click this. I'm going to change this from merge into just dim product now. Cool. And then I may also want to take a look here. If I press the plus, just like my search, I can do keep top rows. I can get this information here as opposed to having to use the UI. So keep top 100 rows, just keeping it light while I do my development. That new step is then added here with that naming. And then if I was to right click this here, I can also change the properties just like we can today with the query settings. Keeping rows, let me say limiting rows to keep things fast. It's okay. That indicator for our documentation, hover above here now, limiting rows to keep things fast, hover above in diagram view, or on the right-hand side here, limiting rows to keep things fast within the query settings. I do want to pause here though, for the moment. What are your first thoughts or impressions here of diagram view? If this is maybe like your first time seeing it, or if you're seeing some of the things that you can obviously do with it here now, just in terms of highlighting reference queries, expanding things. Let me pause here just before I continue.
Very nice from me, Alex.
Yeah.
Very, very good. As you say, like really nice view for kind of reading it, but also editable experience.
Yep.
That we can interact with it.
Yeah.
Best Christmas gift.
Love it. Well, a lot of cool things here within diagram view. Kind of showing mini map here as well if you want to see the complete diagram within your environment. Compact view is a little bit more interesting if you like kind of the top to bottom view. Maybe if you're used to query settings, where you're like, well, this whole left right thing, I don't know if it's for me. You can easily change that here into compact view mode. So here within the diagram view, compact view, or just right click within that menu. Very similar to like what we just talked about here in terms of the namings. Maybe if you're adding some custom things. So let's get back into here, keep top rows. I'll say something custom. Oh, people love naming things, something custom. As a debugger, it may not be for me, how they classify things. So from this, instead of showing the step name, I want to show the actual step label. So from that, I can change it back into keep top rows. So in this way, I understand what the transformation is as opposed to maybe like a custom documentation that someone has provided. So whether it be the step name, which is a customization, whether it be the step label, which is kind of the UI-based naming, you can configure that here as well, kind of within this view. Ooh. Wow. A lot to think about here. Very, very cool. Before I continue, I do want to pause here just for anyone that maybe has some additional questions.
There's there's been a few questions to come back to, but I've just spotted one in the chat about we can export reports into PowerPoint and stuff. Somebody's asking if there's any chance we can export a view like this into PowerPoint.
Yeah, so that's one that I would like to see as well in terms of like having this be exportable. Great feedback and something I can take to the team. Just being able to kind of export like this complete view. Is that kind of the nature?
And have it still be interactive as well? Like
I don't know if it could be interactive in a. Were they thinking PDF or a PowerPoint, or what was their thoughts there?
Well, the question was PowerPoint, but I guess anything. But just exporting it, I guess, would be nice.
Yeah. Well, let us know if you want to come off mute, maybe expand upon that scenario. For me, it's more of like, well, I just want something exported for documentation purposes. But if you're thinking of something like that's more interactive, we'd just love to kind of learn, how you intend to use it.
Don't get people started on documentation, Alex. You're gonna you're gonna cause a riot with all the changes.
Love it. All right. Well, here, absolutely love the diagram view. It's such a fun new addition here for the Power Query developers. Being able to expand all, collapse all, see the complete lineage and flow. It's such a great addition for anyone that does debugging. And then anyone, especially that's maybe coming from more of a UI kind of visual flow. So whether it be like a SQL Server integration services or a Tableau data prep, Alteryx, this is just a new great way to kind of introduce them into Power Query and kind of show them an experience that maybe they're used to today. Awesome. Well, then let's continue here. One thing that I'm always very excited about is just writing actual code. We've talked about it here, kind of these shortcuts and these keys. So what I'm going to do, I've got this new dim product. I've got way too many columns here with IDs. I just see ID. Just not very good for a data analytics BI situation, just in terms of those unique GUIDs. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and start limiting those. So let me turn off some of these views. Back to the things that we know and love. So here, I want to go ahead and get all of the column names. So FX, insert a step. I'm going to say table.column names. Something custom. Awesome. So I've got a list. Get rid of this here. Kind of return us back a little bit. Awesome. Hover above. I can see the script call out on the right-hand side here. If we remembered some of those diagnostic indicators in terms of steps, it says that analysis on this step was inconclusive. It can't be folded back to the source. I see here with obviously this gray, and then kind of up here in the red where it's just absolutely, it's like, well, no, none of this is being done. It's all being done at the source level as opposed to kind of a, within a SQL-based compute layer. So with this, I've got my column names. I now want to maybe remove any that have been kind of done through with this ID, get it out of here. So anything that text.contains ID, compare ordinal. So definitely want to kind of keep an eye there. Hey, like that little helper. Cool. Here are all my ID columns. And then of course, at the very end, I want to point back to my expanded dim product category. So expanded dim product category raw. Cool. Did a couple transformations, referenced my previous step. I'm kind of just bouncing around here a little bit in terms of the applied steps. From here, table dot remove columns. And I want to remove the columns from custom one. Custom space one. Here we go. So now I've removed all my ID columns. I don't see those anymore here within my schema view list. A lot of kind of custom M, a lot of things to maybe wrap your head around here, just in terms of if you think about like in a top-down order from applied steps. I started here. I turned it into kind of a list of column names, an inconclusive step. I then did some transformations on this list to select all of the ID columns. And then here at the very last step, custom 2, I referenced my remove columns back in my expanded dim products. You have to remember I went all the way back to an earlier step. And then I also referenced custom 1. So a lot of different variables that I've been storing to try and explain this to folks. All ID columns and column names. Column names. Cool. So explaining this to folks, this is why I love the diagram view. Let's pop back up to this now. Dim product. Bring this down a little bit. When I talk about Power Query, it's not a top-down language. This is why I love the diagram view so much, is that I have a branch of my query here. So I've got the script. I've taken it in one direction, which is, well, I'm going to branch it off a little bit. I'm going to get the column names. Here with my table.column names, I'm then going to select all the ID columns, and I'm going to take my original branch, which points all the way back to expanded dim product category raw view, and I'm going to merge that with all ID columns here for this final step. Being able to show that Power Query itself in the M language has so much magic, M is for magic, capabilities. The diagram view respects all of these. So this is another reason why, oh my goodness, I absolutely love this thing. But as we do more and more kind of customization in code, I do want to also be aware of like, well, if I do something completely insane here with maybe a function, so give me 1 second here while I kind of grab this, because I do want to showcase it. One second here. A massive script here for us. So Control M, new query, paste this awesome custom function. Preview view. Just going through, referencing my original kind of function here at the very beginning. It has these different branching. But what I want to showcase here is, trying to debug this monstrous script here. Correct window. Pretty long, to try and do this all here with just kind of that single formula bar, one step at a time. Here's my source step, here's my table return step, here's my file name updater, which is pretty nested as well. To do all this here, kind of within the formula bar, just not a huge fan. So what I can do is in the bottom right, instead of seeing the step, one step at a time, show me the complete query. So query script. I zoom this out now. Get rid of the diagram view. I can now see the complete from line number 1 all the way to the very bottom in 39. So as opposed to jumping into the advanced editor, I see the complete query here now. If I want to do one step at a time, once again, just back here to toggle between step script. But as a Power Query developer myself, oh my goodness, I can just jump out here and type new things, press enter to commit, control and enter. Just a fantastic new resource here if you're doing kind of that actual hardcore kind of custom M development. Let me pause here though. How many people have maybe seen kind of this query script, or if you think that, hey, that would be something that would be extremely helpful for you, especially if maybe you're using kind of the Excel desktop world. Let me pause here though. Yes, very helpful, awesome. And then Mark Proctor had a question here in terms of the IntelliSense. So I saw something that was working earlier, and I was very curious. List.generate, which I was like, well, how is it finding that? And then how is it finding table? Like, it's doing a pretty good job here with IntelliSense. So I hit tab and it completed row, but I don't know where it's sourcing this from. It seems like it's only doing it from existing transformations. So that's where I was kind of curious myself when it popped up, Mark. I just didn't want to call too much attention to it. But like I use list.generate, so it has some sort of context awareness for this. I was to do list.g and hit tab. There's no more double kind of, prepending. Absolutely love that you asked this question as well, is because this experience, a lot of it is going to be kind of following the Visual Studio Code experience for Power Query. So I don't know if you've been using this as of today. Go ahead and do a new. So here, do Power Query formula language. So let's source equals table dot. All of this rich experience that's available within VS Code for kind of the Power Query and the M formula language. That's what the team is looking to bring into this experience, into here. So in terms of this code highlighting, this code syntax, coloring, if that's something that you enjoy, if you're like, oh my goodness, I would love to have a rich development environment for actual writing code, let us know what you think about the VS Code experience. Then obviously say, well, here are the bits and pieces I would love to see kind of brought into kind of Power Query online in all the host applications. Yep, I'm right there with you. I want the VS Code experience as well. So just, I would say, copy and paste it all and just bring it over here in the window. That's everything that I want, because it comes with code formatting, code highlighting. If I was to maybe kind of jump back into, let's do maybe this one. So here, once again, the complete script here. I've got some new lines. Control Shift, format document. Oh, didn't do too much, but it did a little bit. Syntax highlighting. If I was to hover above items, I get the return variable type here, so I can change column type. It returns the value of table here at the very end of that hover above. So yes, table.transform column types returns a table. Uppercase text, table, marquee column, table. Just a fantastic thing that I would love to see kind of brought in that Power Query experience. Awesome. Well, then let me go ahead. Huge fan, query script, step script, writing M, VS Code experience. Always kind of reach out if you got some thoughts or ideas there. Cool. Well, Alan, how much time do I still have? I want to kind of dive into some query folding stuff.
I haven't even been watching, mate. I have two. As long as you want. How much longer you got, Drayton?
I've got some query folding, just the step indicators and the query plan that I'd love to show. Then after that, we can kind of take some open questions.
For sure. Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Let's do it then. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and grab this address here real quick. Alt-Q, Azure SQL. Goodness, this boy is blazing. This boy is blazing fast. All right, I love these new shortcuts. Press next. Awesome. So let me do select related. Press create. Very awesome. So on the right-hand side, one of the first things I'm noticing is these new step folding indicators. So I've connected to an Azure SQL database. That SQL server is now doing all this kind of complex transformations for me, as opposed to bringing it into the mashup engine. So if I was to hover above, and then let me use Windows Plus, hopefully. Yep, I was using it correctly. I've got myself confused. Okay, where am I at? Where's my mouse? Oh gosh. Hold on. Two. Mouse is back. This step will be evaluated by the data source and the green icon, so it's letting me know that it's doing the heavy lifting over on that system. Do a transformation here. So maybe I'll say country region, keep rows or filter rows. Canada, so just kind of my tab stops. Press OK. I did a step. I don't know anything about writing SQL. I'm sorry, it's not my background. I'm an Excel person at heart. I know GUIs, I know UI menus, I know some of the Power Query language code. But what I just did was I took this Power Query transformation, I sent this back to the native system in its source language. So if I was to hover above this now, view data source query. Here at the very bottom, I can see that it wrote this where clause for me. So where country region is equal to Canada. I can't edit this window. This is purely a view only. But I recognize that Power Query is able to take my transformations, send this back to Azure SQL in the language that it understands, and then from there, it's able to continue this this transformation. But with this is also I can do additional transformations. So maybe here on modified, I'd like to do an add column. And let's see here, name of day. Yes, it broke. Fantastic. So on the right-hand side, I now have a step folding indicator icon of red, just letting me know the step will be evaluated outside of the data source. So at this point, Power Query has not stopped me in any way, shape, or form. It still allows me to do transformations. It just does some of the processing of the data in Azure SQL and then some of it here within the mashup engine of Power Query. So at this point, it takes the information, it brings it into the mashup engine here and just able to complete these steps. If I was to right click this, go into view query plan. And we've also got the export view here at the very bottom. So SQL database is my source. I can see those details. Benchmarks is my database. Here was all the native queries that Canada that we just had. And here at the very last one is table.add columns. So at this point, it's taken my query. It's had to do some of it remotely. So within the original system, it's had to stream some of that information here into that mashup engine here with that streaming icon to just let me know, hey, for this final step, I'm really having to do kind of a mix of both. This is where kind of your refresh times may start to balloon, just if you're starting to see this query plan. So in terms of the diagnostics, the troubleshooting, I'll kind of jump over here into product, and then we'll do just a right click here, view query plan once again, just from the menu. This is the ideal, this is the perfect state of a query. So if you ever see a query that simply just has kind of the original source, SQL.database, next step up is the value.native query. This is the absolute perfect query plan. So if you're looking to reduce refresh times, this is 100% what it should look like. Maybe I'll pause here. How many people have seen Query Planner, or is this maybe the first time that you're seeing it? I'll pause there. Let me know in the chat if this is the first time. First time. Yep. Cool. Let me go and close that. Able to export this, it just provides a JSON output, which has some more diagnostic information here for you. But if you're doing optimization of queries, the query plan is just a huge added benefit for us as Power Query developers. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, then I kind of show one final thing here. which is always my favorite trick. So here, right-click, copy. I've been talking with my friend Oz here about this Power Query Online experience. If we know anything about M, we know that it's very transportable. So once again, here in the queries pane, if I right-click paste, it'll yell at me and say, you have to use Control V. All right. So then let me Control V. Yes, I'll configure my configurations here. Give it a quick minute. Global search, top, schema view in the bottom right, diagram view here, everything that we just saw, step view, query script. So I can do the exact same things that we've just been doing for the past hour over in Power BI. I could have the exact same development experience over here in Power Apps. Very similar. If I was going to make.power automate, if you're like, hey, I want to start automating some of my data dumps, kind of between maybe like Azure SQL out into like a SharePoint or some other, not worry about authenticating. So I'll do a new instant cloud manual new step. Look at this. Power Query out in Power Automate, transform data using Power Query. It's a great query. That four-cornered experience that I was talking about with Oz and the hosting application. So this Power Query Online code base is now being started here within Power Automate. So I'm going to go ahead and click maybe just my weather events, transform data, diagram view, query script steps, schema view, everything that we've just seen for the past hour available over here in Power Automate. Global search, going one more time into ADF. So maybe doing petabyte scale transformations with Power Query here using Azure Data Factory. Yes, continue. So many menus, so many prompts. Here on the left-hand side, Power Query. I would create a new Power Query. I'll just select my data source here. I'll select people. Awesome. So some things I'm noticing here, schema view, got my diagram view, query scripts. I don't have the global search here, unfortunately, just within this kind of versioning. But everything that I've been doing, once again, for the past hour, available over here within kind of that Azure Data Factory experience, just the same. So I learned this new experience of developing in Power Query Online. It's being hosted in all these different places. So whether that be in the Power BI service, Power Apps, Power Automate, Azure Data Factory, Dataverse and Teams, Customer Insights, or even the Excel on Mac. Oh my goodness, all these different places have this new, updated, and modern experience. That's why I'm such a fan of talking about Power Query Online, and why I'm always encouraging people talk to that team, like the Excel team, to say, "Oh my goodness, when are we getting Power Query Online within kind of the Excel desktop version?" I do know right now, Excel Online, you can now start refreshing Power Queries that are either stored within the same workbook or an OData feed. So I just have to continue to believe, hey, they've got the backend done with the refreshing. I have to believe that Excel Online is not too far behind in terms of this new, modern, updated experience, because we see it in Power Automate, we see it over in Power Apps, we see it in Power BI, just these online services. I think we're definitely going to see that the benefit a little bit sooner here than some of the offline desktop modes. But with that, let me go ahead, kind of jump back in here and just quickly say thank you so much, everyone, for kind of your time and your attendance. I do want to open it up just for questioning, but please feel free to connect, at least over on Twitter, Not About to Sell, or over on LinkedIn, just Alex M. Powers. I absolutely love hanging out with kind of people that are on the journey, whether it be through Excel, Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, kind of the Power Platform there, or if you're trying to do things at scale with kind of Azure Data Factory. I absolutely love the Power Query experience. Everywhere it's hosted, everyone's trying to do different things. But I think at the end of the day, it's really about having that rich development environment for you to make sure that you're as productive as possible. But with that, let me go and stop. Alan, any questions? What should we dive into?
Just trying to find my unmute there, mate. There was a question before you started, and just reading off the screen here. Just thought I'd wait to the end about why you can't have multiple users editing the same data flow.
And that's an issue that's been outstanding for a while. I think right now the focus is on stabilizing the data flows experience with kind of the Gen 2, which is what the team is working on. A lot of that will also kind of provide some new benefits for us just as developers. So let me go ahead. In public, let's see if it's still out here. But they were having new capabilities brought into Power Query online, like output to SharePoint, output to maybe even like Azure SQL. So let's see here. Destination. Yeah, so it may not be out kind of on the current listing here. I'd have to look at some of those, but it was on a kind of a historical. Find here, change history. All right, I can't find it at the moment, but they want to fix and stabilize data flows before they kind of invite multiple people into kind of collaborating within that. I do foresee that, though, as still being a very top priority whenever they've kind of fixed a lot of those issues, just in terms of having like a multi-developer experience, no different than having like two people working on an Excel file at the same time. I think that's pretty consistent across a lot of different Microsoft teams as well.
Awesome. Cheers,
awesome.
Anyone who's got a question for Alex, because I can't keep up with this chat. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or pop in the chat if you'd rather not speak. But feel free to, ask away.
Power Query everything. Power Query Toto. And then Oz, I don't know if you're still around, but hopefully explained a lot here for you in terms of like the different hosting applications. Then hopefully just the same, that you're excited about kind of what you've seen, and you're excited of like, well, when is this coming to Excel desktop? Hopefully woke you up there. Yeah, a lot of people are saying, just kind of seeing a lot of new stuff. From like a personal standpoint, this is why, at least in terms of like Power Query demos and things that I'm doing lately, I'm trying to only showcase the new Power Query experience, just because I want people to kind of see what's coming. That way they could either start developing in the cloud today, or they can be kind of ready for it whenever it does come to kind of those local experiences. There's always so many new bells and whistles being added to all these applications all the time. But I'm really trying to focus on what's new, what's coming, just in terms of kind of evangelization. So Alex, will we have steps, diagram view, scheme view, icons in the ribbon or tab home? Kind of curious on that. What were you thinking? What were you thinking here in terms of the ribbon or tabs? Because you can customize if you do or don't want to see these kind of within the global options like query folding indicators. You can turn these off. You can turn off script view. So on the right-hand side, you can see that they're now removed. Would just be very curious.
Was there? Oh, you back up. Is there an option to turn off the little icons in that applied steps?
Oh, kind of the step. I don't think that there is.
Just me who doesn't like them. I don't like those little ones.
Yeah, nothing I've seen. They've never annoyed me, but I don't know. If they're distracting you, let us know. Obviously, we're always listening here just in terms of increasing your productivity. Cool. Well, then if no additional questions, I'll go ahead and stop screen share here on my side. Thank you so much, everyone. Please feel free to connect, though, just throughout all the different social channels, so whether it be Twitter, LinkedIn, Reddit. I'm over there hanging out all the time too, either in the Excel forums or Power BI. We do have a Power Query subreddit as well. I try and be active over there, just if people ever have questions.
Cool.
And then Christian, yes, Christian, you're absolutely awesome here. Just starting to kick the tires in the online version, then bring it back to the Power BI local, just whenever you're ready.
Yeah. You keep bringing all this cool new stuff, Alex, and the kids aren't going to see their parents at Christmas now. We're all going to be
That's where it's always fun to kind of talk about this session, just all the cool things you can do. It's just, I know as Power Query developers, we're always seeing all the other cool stuff that other folks are getting. So it's always like, oh, when are we getting something new? I think all the capabilities that will be coming to kind of a local desktop environment, we'll just have such a fun time at that point.
Cool. I'm just trying, oh, here it is. I was just trying to look for your thing while I was talking to you, your Power BI release plan app, so I could share it.
Yeah. I'll drop AKA link here for anyone that's using Power BI. Definitely leverage that template app just installed in your environment. Just an easy way to kind of keep up to date. A lot of it's built through Power Query, web scraping, and RSS feeds. So exact same work that we're doing all together in kind of Excel or Power BI. Being able to do that within the reports, it's fun.
Alan, that app is brilliant. I've got it in part of my teams, and it's just, yeah, I look at it on a regular basis. It's brilliant.
It's a way to stay up to date, Anthony.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely amazing, I must say. And then you start doubting yourself, and you're thinking, oh, is it? Quick check over the other side and go, okay, cool, yeah, okay, I'm not talking rubbish.
Oh,
God.
Let me share that in the YouTube too.
Then everyone uses global search. I think it's such a fun, neat thing as well, just being able to type in things or find your queries, especially if you have a lot of them. I absolutely loved when the guy was yelling at me on Twitter about that. And I was like, we have it up here. Just give us time to get it to the local environment.
Yeah. I don't know how everyone else feels here. I know a lot of people are saying they're first timers. I think so many of us are just not used to searching the things. I know in Excel they've brought out like a search for features as well recently. Obviously you can search for things in Windows. I think people just are so not used to it. We just go and get our files in the usual.
Yeah. and that's something like I'm trying to, even break myself of habits of being like, well, I could do 10 different clicks, or I could type maybe like 6 letters with an autocomplete. Find the keyboard shortcut. I think in like Outlook, it's Control E to get to the search bar. I think Teams is like Control F. It's like I wish there was a little bit more uniform in terms of the search shortcut, but at the same rate, each team does unique things in it, and it's very cool to see what you can kind of accomplish.
Yeah.
Tanja was kind of like, when will it arrive in Excel? Whenever we make enough noise, like help me, help you. Like this is what I'm yelling about with Power Query everything all the time is let's tell the Excel team like, oh my goodness, we'd love to see this. That way we can help them prioritize it.
Alex, quick question on that. The model that you imported at the beginning, the JSON model.
Yep.
Where did you get that from, or how do you sort of push that out?
Yeah, so at least within so Excel has the Power Query template file, which is a PQT, which has kind of a metadata structure where you can import that into different systems. So either in like take that PQT file and import it into like I think Power Apps supports it. Power BI will be supporting that new format. Within Power BI today, if you have a data flow, you can go to export model from a data flow, and then you can kind of re-import it. So that's one way to kind of do kind of this unified modeling template.
But what if you've got a model in a PBEX? Can you easily extract it out of there and then push it up into data?
No, not today within Power BI. Still, the easiest is going to be that copy paste. So just copying all the queries and pasting.
Copy and paste all the queries. Okay.
Yeah. So I'd imagine like whenever they get to the point of having Power Query Online in Power BI Desktop, we'll start seeing more enrichment. So March 2023 coming soon. ...
Cool.
Love the question. Oz, good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, good to see you here. A lot going on.
Alex, thank you for the session. I was wondering, do you think it would be, well, this is just a guessing, of course, but would it be easier to expect this kind of experience in Excel Online first? I know that
if I was betting, yes.
Power Query does not have developing capabilities there yet, right? Only refreshing.
If I was to be placing some money on it, I would highly think that it would land in Excel Online first, just because Excel Online is all cloud-based. We don't have to worry about like the different versioning. So 365 versus what 2019, 2016, like there's just so many different things you have to worry about with Excel. And my comments are still hold true. You break Excel, you break the world. So I think that it's a lot easier to end up in Excel Online. You can refresh today Power Query in Excel Online. The two different caveats being it has to either be an OData source or it has to be queries that are contained within the same workbook. So if you're to reference a table within a workbook and do some transformations and then output another table, you can refresh all of that today. That to me tells me they have the back end done. They just need to get the front end done. So that's where I would place my bets, is Excel Online first.
Thinking of an exclusively Excel user and having us seen all this stuff today, if someone is wanting to give it a try, what kind of steps you would recommend? So for example, I'm a bit familiar with Power BI, but I don't work much with it. How do you recommend someone that works mostly with Excel to be able to, let's say, oh, let me try this and develop, and then how can I import that work into Excel? I guess copy pasting the queries would be one option.
Yeah. So if it's purely to like kick the tires, I would be like, yeah, just copy and paste and try it out. The best answer is always going to be find a business problem that you need to solve, and then that's when you use the technology to solve it. So at that stage, if you have something that aligns with the project to say, well, this should be a BI project, or this should be like a kind of a Power App, like a text-based entry, absolutely say, well, what would it take to start staging my data using Power Query in that application? Those would be the scenarios. From like a licensing perspective, I would come back to say, well, what you have access to is what you should try. I don't feel like you should go out and ask for money, or you should ask for a kind of budget to go out and accomplish something just without that kind of that full validation. So if you have Power BI in your environment today, absolutely go try it. Like I would say Azure Data Factory has like probably the easiest barrier for entry, just in terms of you can start a resource just from Azure, and then you can delete it once you're done. Where like a licensing agreement with like Power Apps or Power Automate would be like, well, I have to commit to a monthly, or I have to commit to like a yearly thing. I don't want you to pay for something that you may never use. So the P here may be for patience with Power Query. So I would just say, hey, wait for it to show up in either Excel Online or in kind of the Excel desktop versions. Once again, why I'm so excited about Excel Online is because I think when we're up there, we can start doing some scripting where you can maybe use like a Power Automate flow to kick off the refresh. So that way you never have to be at your machine to wait for the Power Queries to complete. To me, like that's going to be amazing when we can do that, because I had to write like a lot of VBA when I was kind of developing Power Query back in the day, and I just never felt like it was effective. Hopefully that answered the question, though. We know.
Yeah, I think it might be, at least for me, it is a bit confusing in terms of licensing and people who are not using enterprise licenses, just the home and student or something like that. They won't get access to most of these at the moment, right?
Yeah, I would agree. They should wait then for the capabilities to come to Excel desktop.
Online. Yeah.
Or
Excel Online, Microsoft 365.
Yeah, and that's where like I wouldn't even know where to start with the Excel Online licensing, because they have different layers and components too.
Nobody
so who
knows
what they may attach.
We don't want to go that way, though.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Alex.
Of course.
But then, Alex, on the I've noticed with the PQ Online is that will there be parity then across everything? Because obviously, like linked and computed entities, you can't do in data flows if you don't have premium or premium per user. So are they going to bring parity across the board then, so you can do it for everybody?
So that's where things are more interesting, is because Power Query itself is just kind of the UI. It's up to the downstream host systems. So like Power Apps, they don't have a computed entity, but you can load your data into either a standard data flow or an analytical data flow. And you're like, well, what are those? A standard being, well, you can load your data into Dataverse, into a SQL-based table. An analytical in Power Apps is saying, well, I can load it to a data lake. Power Automate their team says, well, you can only run Power Query against Azure SQL database. It's really up to those different teams how they wish to integrate kind of that UI point and click menu. So when you asked about enhanced compute, well, that enhanced compute is developed by the Power BI team, not the Power Query team itself. So that's really where it's kind of like, well, what teams want to do with the code base and how they want to enrich it. Thinking about the AI-based transformations in Power Query, like those aren't available in Excel, right? To do like text sentiment analysis, keyword extraction, like that was something that the Power BI team built on top of kind of their host experience in Power Query. So it's interesting, it's unique, but that's why I'm always out here trying to tell teams about like yell at the application systems that you like yell at the Excel team to say, I want this thing in my version of Power Query. Biggest takeaway for me for this session is like, we all need to be yelling at the Excel team to say, give me Power Query Online as soon as possible. Like ASAP.
I don't know.
Really?
Because I've been staying in so many hotels lately and fighting with Wi-Fi, and I was online at one point, and now I'm off, and the online cloud world is really bothering me. But there's one thing that hit me during this call, and it may not be relevant, okay? But with so much like Power Automate and all this coding stuff, I don't want to see Excel go the way that WordPress went, where I could build my own website in WordPress in 2010. It was an everyman's tool.
Yep.
Now, no, you got to hire the developer.
I agree. WordPress has a lot more bells and whistles than what I really needed when I was creating a blog as well. So right there with you. And then I do want to add clarity, like the Power BI desktop, like the Canvas experience is just a web-based experience, like WebView 2, if you start hearing this term. You can still do Power BI desktop offline. It's just they're hosting a web-based experience in desktop. Power Query Online will still be able to be run in an offline mode. It's just Power Query Online in these four corners. It's just a web-based container. You don't need to be online. You don't need to worry about your Wi-Fi signals. All of it is still capable in an offline mode, Oz.
All right.
But be excited, man. The new experience. I'm gonna love seeing Oz on fire, kind of Excel on fire with these new videos.
Yeah. I'm trying to get back to it, but like right now, I'm standing up in an Airbnb in Tucson, you know, and because the table that's in this room is too small for both my laptop and my monitor. So,
oh goodness,
you know, like yesterday, I stood up for 6 hours editing a video, but it's done. It's done. It's done.
Right. Yep.
Get yourself involved in these things, Oz.
Get
yourself involved in these things.
Yeah.
And let me turn off the YouTube stream, team. That's still going.
Oh my God. The curtains are still open. Hurry up, close the curtains, man.